Hello, this is Julius from Basic Financials. Today I'm going to do a video about Construction Industry Scheme, or CIS. This has been a requested video, so I'm doing it for that person, plus I'm sure there are lots of other people who it will apply to. Now, the construction industry is pretty complicated, or the construction industry scheme is quite complicated. I've got some notes up so I don't get sidetracked too much, so if you see me looking up above and leaning forward, that's because I'm trying to see what I've written in my notes. Right, so to start with, what is the construction industry and why is it a construction industry scheme? I'm going to call it CIS from now. What is CIS and why is it there? Now, a long time ago, you probably heard of the black economy. A lot of people, especially in the construction industry, were being paid and receiving payments without anybody knowing, Hmrc not knowing about it, and therefore lots of tax and national insurance was going astray, not being declared. So to try and combat that, Hmrc introduced the construction industry scheme. That was some years ago. So that's where it started. Now, the first thing I should say is CIS isn't something that replaces employment. You can't say, oh, I'm going to not be employed, I'm going to be under the CIS. And that applies to the people paying and the people who are being paid. So if you're a contractor, you can't just say, okay, I don't need to worry about employment because I'm going to use this person under the CIS. If employment is something that is a matter of fact, and it's not always obvious whether it's employment or self-employment, but if somebody is employed, then they should be treated as an employee, and from the company's point of view, they should be put on your books and you should deduct tax and national insurance. That's the crucial bit, it's the national insurance. That's where it differs from somebody under CIS. So importantly, always check the status. If somebody is employed, then they are employed. You can't just say, I'm going to treat them as self-employed. That's another topic, whether someone's employed or self-employed, but just remember that bit. Now, you have a contractor under a construction industry scheme, CIS, who's the person that would be making payments to a subcontractor. And a subcontractor is somebody working in the construction industry who is receiving those payments. Now, you could be a contractor and a subcontractor, because you might have a client who's in the construction industry who's paying you, and they're the main contractor. You're a subcontractor receiving payments from them, but you also use your own subcontractors, so you could be both. So I'm just going to check my notes again. Right, yes, so if you're a subcontractor on the, and you're basically what they would say a normal subcontractor, say you're a self-employed individual and you decided to start up a business and you've got, you start to work for a contractor, then you might be subject to standard rate deductions, which is 20%. And that's designed to cover your tax, part of your tax bill at the end of the year. Now, that 20% deduction will apply just to any payment that relates to anything other than materials, basically. So if you charge the person who's paying you for your labour, the time, and also for materials you've spent out, they shouldn't be deducting anything from the materials part, but they will from the labour side of it. If your turnover happens to be over £85,000 and your subcontractor who's registered for VAT, they wouldn't deduct it from the VAT part that you charge either. So it's just the labour element net of VAT, and 20% would be deducted. If for some reason you haven't registered with Hmrc, then you might expect a subcontractor or a contractor to deduct a higher rate of tax from your payments. That's 30%. You may well be registered as self-employed, but if you haven't registered also as a subcontractor in the construction industry scheme, then because Hmrc won't know you as a subcontractor, they might still know you as a self-employed individual, but if they don't know you as a subcontractor, then the contractor will be told to deduct 30% from your income. Right, so that's the deductions. If you're a contractor, you need to register with Hmrc to say that you're a contractor. And the way you do that is through Hmrc's website. You may well already be a company or a sole trader, but you still need to say that if you're going to start work in the construction industry and you're going to start paying people, you need to register to say that you're going to do so, and do that online. What will happen is, if you haven't already got a payroll scheme set up, you'll be registered as an employer, and what you need to do is you need to then start deducting the appropriate rate. Now, you find out the appropriate rate, but when you come to pay a subcontractor, you need to either phone up or do it online, but you would verify a process called verification. You have to verify the subcontractor you're going to pay. So when you phone up or give over the details online, you'll be asked your details, so your unique taxpayer reference, your business name, address, etc., etc., and the same thing effectively for the employee, or not employee, sorry, as a subcontractor. So you'll need their unique taxpayer reference if they have one, and their national insurance number, their name and address, everything you would do really, as if that you expect to want to know if you're going to be paying somebody. And then Hmrc will check on their systems to see whether they have them as recorded as a subcontractor, and then they will give you the appropriate rate, which will either be 20% or higher rate, or it might say to not deduct anything. That's called gross status, and that's another one. So gross status, if you're a subcontractor and say you're a self-employed individual, if you've got all your tax affairs are up to date and your turnover is over 30,000 a year, excluding VAT, then you can apply for gross status, which would mean that you can receive your payments without deduction of any tax at all. If you're a partnership, then that 30,000 applies per partner, or you could say for the whole partnership £100,000. So if you had 5 partners, you would use the £100,000 if you want to be gross status. Likewise with a company, if you've got directors, it's 30,000 per director, or £100,000 again for the whole company. So it is possible, if you're working in the construction industry, to apply for gross status so that you don't have anything deducted from your income. Now, if you're, let's say you've registered as a contractor, you are about to pay people, you've verified your subcontractors, and so you know how much deductions to make. You make those payments over. In the registration process, you will have been given an accounts office reference, a PAYE scheme, and you'll have a gateway account, government gateway account, and you will apply to use the CIS service within that account, which will then enable you to record all of your payments each month to subcontractors. And you have to submit a return every month of all the payments you've made, or the total for each subcontractor, which will then show an amount that you will owe in deductions to Hmrc. So that's important. You have to do that return every month and submit it online every month. You can do that through that government gateway account using their software. Even if you have no payments in a month, you still need to make a return and say that there's no amounts due for that month. So every month you're going to have to submit something once you're in the scheme. There's also payments to make, and the way you record those and pay those is via you'll probably have PAYE basic tools set up, especially if you're an employer already paying people, and you make an employer payment submission showing the amount of CIS that's been deducted and that you are due to pay over. Sometimes you can do that quarterly. If your total bill is £1,500 a month or less, then you can actually do that quarterly, and that would be you need to do it by the 19th of July, 19th of October, 19th of January, 19th of April. Otherwise, you do it each month by the 19th, and you also need to make payment by then. You get a little bit extra if you pay automatically by electronically. So that's what you need to do if you're a contractor. If you're a subcontractor, and you have deductions made from your income, if you're a sole trader or self-employed, then at the end of the year you'll be doing a tax return because you'll be registered as self-employed, and you will show on your tax return the amounts that's been deducted. So when you do your tax return, it will calculate how much is due to be paid, and then it will take account of what you've already paid through those deductions. So registering as a subcontractor, it's basically, if you're already self-employed and you have a unique taxpayer reference, you just need to register to say that you're now a subcontractor, so that Hmrc will have you on their system, so that the contractor can take 20% off your pay rather than the 30%. If you aren't registered as self-employed already, then you need to also go through the process of registering as self-employed with Hmrc. Now, if you look online how to do that, at www.hmrc.gov.uk, it's got quite a lot of information on there how to do that. I've also got another video on how you do that, but I won't go into the detail of that now. But once you've registered as a subcontractor, that's when you'll know that you have 20% deduction, or you could apply for gross status and have no deductions. But you will be preparing a tax return if you're within the scheme. What else? You might be set up as a company and you might be a contractor. You can actually you might have deductions made from the company's income. Now, if that's the case, you can set that off against any deductions that you're making from your subcontractors. So if the amount is more than you've actually deducted from your subcontractors, then you wouldn't be due to pay anything. You need to keep a record of how much you've set off against that. If at the end of the year, then your company's had more deductions from its own income than it has from the amounts you've paid over, then you can either claim a refund, or you can ask for it to be set off against your corporation tax liability, which will be due later on. You probably want to ask for a refund of it, but you can do both. I think that's probably going to be everything for now. So I guess the important thing for the sole trader who's working in the construction industry, you need to get registered. Make sure when you do your tax return, you include that deduction that's been made from your income, so that you get relief for it. If you're a contractor, again, make sure you're registered, make sure you verify who you're going to be paying, so that you pay the correct amounts and deduct the right amount, and make sure you fill out those returns each time. Now, one more important thing is, if you're working in the construction industry and the person you're working for is a private householder, that isn't within the construction industry scheme. Private householder is not regarded as a contractor, so there's no way they're going to need to register as a contractor and start deducting money from your income. So that's another thing. I think that's probably it. If anyone's got any questions, you can ask, but it is a very complicated scheme. The best place to go for it is at www.hmrc.gov.uk, or just Google, say, construction industry scheme summary, and there's quite a good guide on there that you'll be linked to on the .gov website, which will lead you through things. There, as I say, there is a lot there, so you just have to take it step by step and try and filter out what doesn't apply to you. And good luck with that. Thanks for listening, and subscribe and like as usual, and I'll speak to you soon.